Thoughtless, casual gaming. Thoughtless, casual gaming. Thoughtless, casual gaming. Thoughtless, casual gaming.
Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Thoughtless Casual Gaming Blood Bowl Breakdown. I am one of your hosts, Brett.
I am also one of your hosts, but also not Brett.
Excellent. We thought we would delve into one of the more unique teams today and talk about Nurgle.
I'm not sure that they all are, castrated or have their associated reproductive organs removed. Are they a unique team?
They're unique in Blood Bowl.
Oh, unique. I know. I heard unique. My bad.
Ah, dear. You've got something on the brain that I don't want to even know about right now.
Too many children.
Give us a summary or a history of the Nurgle team, Jace.
Nurgle teams. So, look, the followers of Chaos have been involved in Blood Bowl since the earliest days of the sport. Although most teams start as a conglomerate of the followers of all the Chaos gods, it didn't take long for teams to be a little more selective in their choice of deity. So, on the field, Nurgle teams are a terrifying prospect to face. What they lack in agility and coordination, they more than make up for with brute strength, a natural resilience to harm, and a whole playbook of stomach-churning tactics devised to bring the other team to its knees. So, Nurgle teams defy conventional definition, being made up of rotters, players who have contracted one or more of Nurgle's many blessings, bloaters, players swollen with disease, pestigores, beastmen attracted to the smell, and rotspawn, players so blessed by the plague god that they have devolved into hideously mutated beasts.
All of the good stuff. So, your Nurgle team, you can have 0 to 12 rot alignment. They cost a huge 35,000 gold, movement 5, strength 3, agility 4+, passing 6+, armor value 9+, with decay and plague-ridden skills. If we call them skills. 0 to 4 pestigores, 75,000 each, movement 6, strength 3, agility 3+, passing 4+, armor value 9+, with horns, plague-ridden, and regeneration. 0 to 4 bloaters, 115,000 each, movement 4, strength 4, agility 4+, passing 6+, armor value 10+, disturbing presence, foul appearance, plague-ridden, regeneration. And 0 to 1 rotspawn, 140,000, movement 4, strength 5, agility 5+, no passing whatsoever, armor value 10+, with disturbing presence, foul appearance, loner 4+, mighty blow +1, plague-ridden, really stupid, regeneration, tentacles. You can have up to 8 rerolls at 70,000 gold each. They are tier 2. They cannot have an apothecary.
Which almost feels like it's not 100% in theme.
Almost.
I feel like, I understand that, it probably is a little bit of a dichotomy to have a doctor on the team of a Nurgle plague type thing, but equally, like Fabius Bile.
Fabius Bile was Slanesh.
He was Slanesh, but technically, yes. All right. But the other ones, the guys. What the hell? There's the Tallyman. Oh, he was more of a thing. There were some other ones. I feel like there's some doctoring involved, though.
There's plague doctors. There's those guys with the big long noses. Anywho, avoiding the topic of apothecary for the moment, what stands out to you about this team, Jace?
Look, the biggest thing, actually, the thing I noticed before when I was just kind of flicking through stuff and I hadn't really paid a lot of attention to is the complete lack of ability to get edge skills.
Yeah, agility is a secondary on everybody.
And
So
there's a lot of teams that have positionals that don't have access to edge. That makes 100% sense. But there's usually one or two that have it as a primary at least, to give you the ball handling up front. So I think, that was probably a key takeaway that I saw literally just then. I just made the assumption that, Pestigors would have him or something at a minimum. Alas. Look, the other thing for me with this team is probably the sheer amount of skills / traits off the
yes,
bat.
they have a heap of things, which is both good and bad. And a lot of these things, in particular, foul appearance and disturbing presence, both really are amazing skills and can really screw over your opponent. But they're skills that you need to remember. So the onus is on you. So if you're not remembering that your opponent has to roll a 2+ every time they want to hit a bloater or your rot spawn, that you're hurting yourself by not. Yeah.
It is one of those teams that I feel is probably a little bit more of the brain buster, just because there's so many more things to keep track of.
Yes.
And it's not like it's just, even if we said like a vamp team as an example, sure, you have to remember to roll bloodlust for each of your vamps each time they do a thing. That's cool. But that's one thing on one model when you do it.
And it's in your turn.
Yeah.
That's the big thing here.
Because these things are effectively debuffs, they happen in your opponent's turn. So when your opponent's rolling dice, often fast, like you're doing, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I'm going to hit this guy, and like the game flows. You have to be able to think about it and interrupt that flow and not just get caught up in the momentum as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you're potentially remembering it for multiple players at the same time. Like there's this whole, particularly with disturbing presence,
Mm-hmm.
like there's this particular, like where you've actually got to work out who's in what auras of things and stuff. So it's actually probably one of the teams that takes a little bit more of the grey matter to get across.
Absolutely. I mean, all of these skills are good skills, except for decay. But we'll get into that a little bit further on. They're all really, really good skills, but they're up to you to remember they're there. So, first of all, as we said, there's no apothecary on this team, but most of your guys, all of them apart from the linemen, have regeneration. So you've got to roll there, and then that can, depending on the matchup, that can come in handy a lot more than an apothecary could.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to not only save a player from death, which realistically is what we're all hoping Empath will do in most instances, but put them back on the pitch.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it's an in-game buff as well as just a general kind of league piece.
And as we said, this is a very defensive team. So foul appearance, anyone with foul appearance, you've got to roll a 2+ to be able to hit them. And that 2+ doesn't sound like much, but it's going to happen. Like there's going to be a couple of times in a game where that foul appearance pays off, and every now and then it's going to pay off on a blitz or something that you don't want to happen.
And just watching your opponent blow and waste a blitz because they get there and then they can't throw the block.
And then they're standing waiting for a hit back.
It's glorious.
Yes. Disturbing presence is a really, really good one on occasion. So if you're up against somebody, for example, like a high passing team, that disturbing presence can really come in handy. Just as an example, I played Nurgle in a season, the very first fisticuff season that we ran. Ended up going undefeated into the grand final. The the final was against elves, and it was a full-on slog for both teams. Basically, we're looking turn 15, 0-all draw so far. There's 2 elves on the pitch. One of them's up his end with the ball. The other one is down near the end zone. I moved 3 bloaters next to the catcher, giving a -3 to the catch, and he failed that roll by 1. So disturbing presence used correctly, and again, you've got to know that it's there, and you've got to know that it stacks. But used correctly, it can save some awesome plays from your opponent. The other thing to look at here is what used to be called Nurgle's Rot, but is now called Plague Ridden. Basically, if you kill somebody,
and you want to kill things,
yeah,
it's strength more or less, but yeah,
and they can't be stunty or the usual sort of prerequisites for this kind of skill. You get a free rotter at the end of the game, and you can model that rotter after the person you've just killed. There's nothing to stop you having,
or at least naming them the same.
Yes, naming them the same, rubbing salt into the wound. Let's say. Again,
that feels like a Nurgle thing.
Oh yeah.
Maybe also a Slaanesh thing, but definitely a Nurgle thing too.
Again, this is one of those things that you don't think it comes off that often, but I think in my league, I was firing Plague Rotters because I got like 4 or 5 of them throughout the course of the season, and they were just beefing up the team value too much. So that's fantastic. The only other skill I really want to call out as a complete pro, tentacles on your beast. Tentacles is one of those skills that just can completely stop a team in its tracks. I'll give 2 examples for this. One was just a game I played today where I was playing against Lizardmen, and I blitzed with the beast. Sort of last-ditch effort, like the game was 1-all at this point, and blitz with the beast. One of my beastmen had the ball very close to the end zone, but was in total wide open. Could have been blitzed by a skink or 2. Blitz with the beast, hit the guy, knocked him down, followed up, and then realized that I'd followed up right next to the 2 skinks. And it was just glorious. There was no way they were getting out of that. The other thing is this grand final that I'll go back to. This still one of the best matches I've ever played against Chris. Just such an awesome back and forth game that could have gone either way. It went into overtime in the grand final. So we rolled to see who would kick to who again. I won that toss. He set up his kicking team. By this stage, he'd gotten 3 of his KO guys back. So he had 4. He had 4 guys on the pitch. He lined up 3 of them on the line of scrimmage, as you're supposed to do, but he lined them up all next to each other.
Oh, and you just put the beast there and they don't have to moved.
Beast there. All I need to worry about was that one lone guy, and as soon as he was down, it was an easy run in for the win and the championship.
Yeah.
The beast is one of those things that, with tentacles, he's also got bonehead. Let's not forget that. Or really stupid, sorry. It's kind of the same thing in the end. But it's a lot of times it is not even worth activating that beast. If he's blocking up a few of your opponent's characters, then sometimes not activating him at all on the off chance that he fails is very stupid, loses his tackle zones, and thus loses tentacles. Whether you hit somebody with the beast or not is a real tactics decision. So tentacles on anyone I love. I've been known to throw them onto other pieces. Minotaurs on a Chaos team, for example.
Yeah, but particularly a high strength piece.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You want to stay right here next to me where I can hit you and you're not dodging away from me.
And because it is a strength off effectively,
Hmm.
so what it'd be on a rot spawn, it'd be a 4+ to keep a strength 3 piece around, a 3+ to keep a strength 2 piece around. That is, it's a 50-50 chance that one of their scoring pieces can get away from you. I will add that to the playbook every day of the week.
Oh, yeah. Forcing forcing your opponent to make more rolls to get away, even better. So, a couple of cons. First of all, the re-rolls. On the high end, 70,000, pretty much the most expensive you'll get.
Particularly when you've got no edge skill access as well. So there's no
Correct.
dodge, there's no catch, there's no of those kind of things that give you rerolls for
There's
the
no
things you want to do.
there's no ball handling or blocking skills whatsoever on this team to start off with.
No.
So those re-rolls, you do need a couple of re-rolls on a Nurgle team. And because your dice are going to fail, you're going to fail to pick up the ball. I mean, your Pestigores generally will be your running scoring guys. I mean, they're picking up on a 3+.
That fails a lot.
It does fail more often than you want it to, especially when, they've kicked the ball to you, you failed to pick it up, they've started running in and pressuring where the ball is, or even standing right next to it and making it even worse. So
starts to count. Yeah.
I mean, the other negative here too is decay. So decay on the lineman means that every time that they are injured, they're basically injured twice. So, I mean, they're cheap, they're inexpensive, they're cannon fodder, let's say, but yeah, they fall apart quickly when they fall apart. I think I've got one guy in the game that I was playing the other day who has now got -1 armor value and niggling injury from the same
Did you
hit.
apply both? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's going to be fun. I will decide what to do with that guy later.
I mean, he's cheap. You fire and replace. Or you just, I mean, the other thing with,
I think
feel
he's
like-
my leader one as well. I think I rolled double and put leader on him.
oh, no.
Oh, well.
Oh, well. Yeah, I mean, there are also ones that you can just throw on the line of scrimmage as well.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, there's swings and roundabouts.
Yeah. Tactics for Nurgle.
Look, this is, I will say, I think off the bat, this is a relatively tough team to master and to do particularly well with. And they've got all of the tools, but I think it's just a tricky toolbox to unpick. And that being that you've got relatively low movement on all your hitty pieces, which is fine. It's the same as a Black Orc or a few of those, or those kind of ones, where it's movement 4 on the bloaters and the spawn.
Yep.
Which is pretty standard, but it also means that you can't reposition your hitty pieces really easily. I mean, you can probably get your rotters there. You can definitely get a Pestigore where you needed to go, but they're all strength 3, so they're not necessarily doing the work. So there's that problem. There's the no ball handling skills off the bat, and pretty hard to get ball handling skills. Like, there's no passing, there's no edge, unless it's on a secondary. So you're going to have to do some work to move the ball, and that's kind of where you need your rerolls. The flip side, though, is how much control of the pitch that you get with this team. So you've got high strength players, you've got additional debuffs on the disturbing presence and the foul appearance and all that jazz. You've got the tentacles in there. It is legitimately about control and controlling the pitch and the position and where the ball is and where the players are and managing that really tightly. And if you can do that, it's still not going to be a high-scoring team. We're not looking for 3 touchdowns. We're looking for 1-0 wins, 2-1 wins if it's a real fast and loose game.
Mhm.
But it's the game where you literally just want to shut down your opponent's team, sneak in a touchdown, and murder the hell out of things.
You want to be punching a lot with this team. I mean, but it's also, like you said, Jace, it's all about positioning with this team, making sure that your guys are in the right position to do the maximum carnage that they can do with their debuffs. You again, like I said, not always hitting with the spawn is a legitimate tactic with this team.
I would say that they're almost a pretty conservative play style team in that you often don't want to activate everybody. You don't want to move the ball a lot. You don't want to do a lot with your turns, but you want to just do the important thing, really. And then it's just about putting the players where they need to be. So it is one of those ones where you're not trying to run 4 squares or 14 squares and dodge 3 times and pick up the ball on it with -3 tackle zones. None of that shit's happening. Don't even try. So, yeah, I think it is one of those teams where being a little bit conservative and not making the dice rolls where you don't have to actually really pays off.
Yeah. There's a couple of ways that you could level these guys up too. So first thing I'd absolutely recommend, and I have been doing it a lot with my Nurgle teams, is you've got access to mutations on everyone but the rot spawn on a primary. So Pestigor, extra arms, just makes that pickup of the ball so much easier. Even the catching assists with that. It's with your Pestigor, not your Pestigor, sorry, with your bloaters, anything to help them punch more. So block, claw, guard, mighty blow, all of those things, the stock standard punchy pieces will turn you into a bit more of a, you can survive a couple more hits. You can punch a few more people rather than relying on your guys to be upright to do what they need to do. Although with disturbing presence, it does still count when you're on the floor from memory.
Juicy.
I better check up on that, but I'm
it says as he
absolutely
checks.
positive.
But I would say when choosing skills for those guys, particularly the bloaters, you're living in a world where these guys want to be in a scrum. They want to be clogging up the works of your opponent's team. So guard is never going to be bad.
Correct.
Like, it is one of those things that you want to get in there. I mean, they've got high toughness. High strength. They've got high armor. They're probably not going anywhere fast. So you can afford to really grind with these guys. So yeah, I mean, block is solid. They're one of those ones on a secondary. I would almost say dodge just so one more thing on the block dice can't hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
But stand firm. Gold.
Yep.
And then with access mutations, you can have more tentacle pieces in there. You could have more claw in there. You could have, if you really want to play that control game, you can really play it. So there's so many options. The only real challenge there is these guys like Chaos Warriors, like Saurus, like so many others are only skilling up from murder or the odd MVP. So they do skill up a little bit slower than your high scoring pieces.
Absolutely. You will most likely run away on the SPP with the pestigors that you're scoring with. And a lot of times you might only have one pestigor in the team to be your scorer. And he will not only level up, but he'll also be your token target for your opponent.
Look, and that's probably the other thing I would say when we're talking about levels is it's probably worth thinking about 1 or 2 bloaters as a pestigor backup. They've got access to mutations. You can pick up the extra arm. You can pick up a 2-head or something like that if you desperately need it, because at some stage somebody's going to jump on your pestigor.
Yes.
And you need somebody to pick up a ball and you need somebody to run it. And those rotters will be the fallback option. So they're not a terrible option for, as well as all the standard, the kicks, the leaders, that kind of jazz. Still as a guard piece, they're going to just be annoyance pieces. But I think realistically, I would want at least one as a Pestigore backup if I'm only running one.
Absolutely. And I'm just looking at this. So, your rotters do have general and mutation as primary, agility and strength as secondary. So that's obviously changed since Blood Bowl 2 came out, which is why I've got leader on a rotter, because you can't do that anymore. But look, if you're playing 11s, couple of builds that you can do. You can go for the rot spawn build by all means. So 1 rot spawn, 3 bloaters, 1 pestigore, 6 rotters gives you 3 rerolls.
Mm-hmm.
And you need those 3 rerolls. So especially to start off with. And when one game into the season, an extra reroll is the same cost as a rot spawn, you don't want to be spending that money on a reroll. You want to be using it for other things.
No.
The other way you could go, what did we say? We can get rid of the rot spawn, 4 bloaters, 2 pestigores, 5 rotters.
Yep, 995.
3 rolls. Yep. Both decent lineups, but I still reckon the rot spawn is one of the best big guys in the game.
I feel like if you're playing Nurgle, you want to play the rot spawn. Like, there's not many times that you don't want to put that guy with the extra debuffs of disturbing presence, with the tentacles, with the extra strength.
Mighty blow.
There's not many times that you don't want him on the pitch. But equally, you don't have a lot of ball handling ability. You want the 3 rerolls. So I think realistically, the lineup I would go with if I was playing these is the 3 rerolls with the rot spawn, which just means you have to lose a bloater to start with.
That's fine.
That's kind of your starting point. You pick one up as soon as you can afford it, because you're not spending that money on an apothecary. So, you might as well.
And with all luck, you're not spending it on rotters because you're getting them from killing people.
Mm-hmm. Look, the third option, if you want to play real loose with these suckers, is you take it down to 2 rerolls. Doesn't feel like enough. I'm super nervous going into a game with these guys with 2 rerolls. I will burn them in the first 2 turns of the first half without a problem. But it does get you the beast and the 4 bloaters, so you can max out your strength from the start. You get a pestigore, so you've still got everything you need to play Blood Bowl except that 3rd reroll.
Yeah. And when that 3rd reroll does cost you 140,000, and the only way you're getting leader in Blood Bowl 2020 is on a double on the pestigore.
Oh, you're never getting it.
Which is, that's taking the place of Dodge, for example.
No, it's not. It's not.
No, it's not. It's not the right call. So yeah, go the 3 rerolls. That's the TCG suggestion.
Buy them when they're cheap, guys.
Yep,
That's it. This is fundamentally a 3 reroll team when you're building it. So before you even buy anything, buy 3 rerolls and then decide whether you want the rot spawn.
Yep, sounds solid. 7s. You can pretty much play it the way you want to play it. So the rot spawn, 2 bloaters, pestigore, 4 rotters. There's your 7. No, that's 8.
Yep.
585.
Which is good. 1 in the reserves bin is a wonderful piece, especially when the rotters have got decay. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a wonderful piece. Your other option is if you don't want to run the beast, and I don't understand why you don't want to run the beast, guys. Because what is the beast doing worse than a bloater? Nothing.
spending
Absolutely not.
rerolls, but that's not happening in sevens anyway.
Exactly. So you're not getting rerolls. That's not a problem. You could go 3 bloaters, the Pestigore, bang out some rotters. You've saved an extra, 15k for what, guys? Nothing. Buy the beast. Buy the rot spawn. That is the 7th side out.
Yeah, look, Rotspawn, its job is to tie up people as much as possible. Bash people, sure, but you want it to be tying up people. On a sevens pitch, it's going to be tying. It's smaller. It's going to be tying up more people. It's easier to get it in the position that you need it to be. So, totally, Rotspawn is a sevens must include for me.
Mm-hmm. I cannot think of a reason not to. I mean, there is the neg trait, which is the one reason you wouldn't if you don't want to deal with a neg trait, but you also don't have to activate it every turn.
No. The only time I've ever been pressured to activate a rot spawn is if I activated it last turn and got the really stupid result and it's sitting there without tackle zones. I want to activate it and get those tackle zones back.
Absolutely, but that's a no-brainer. And like, this isn't the big guy that you're putting break tackle on.
No.
It's not like...
He's not leaving people.
No. So leave him there. It's happy days. I think, sevens pretty much writes itself, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I don't know why I would do anything else.
Look, there's a lot of talk about Nurgle and what a tough team they are. And in all honesty, they're a thinking team because you need to remember the skills. You need to remember disturbing presence. You need to remember foul appearance. You need to remember what you're doing with positioning. But they're not a bad team by any stretch of the imagination.
They've got all of the tools, but you need, like, it's not a
Almost.
straightforward toolbox.
Yeah.
It's a really it's one that you kind of have to get your head around, and it's not as forgiving as some of those. If you let a ball carrier sneak through because you left some holes in your defensive line, you're not going to catch him. Not with anything that counts anyway. And when you do, and you have to throw that 1 dice block or that 2 dice uphill block, you don't have the rerolls to afford to burn on it, really. So, yeah, I feel like it is potentially a little bit more unforgiving if you do make those mistakes. But so juicy just to be able to stack on your elf throwing team, just stack disturbing presence auras on and go, oh, you thought you were throwing that? Yeah, you've banked your play on that. You've got 2 players left on the pitch and you thought you were moving the ball to somewhere I couldn't get it? Yeah, unfortunately, no. That's another fumble, guys, and I am just going to murder.
Oh, yeah. And I know that from solid experience. Absolutely disturbing presence counts when they're prone, when they're stunned, even if they've lost their tackle zone for whatever reason. Yeah,
that's juicy. I mean, I suppose the presence is no less disturbing.
That's right.
I like it.
Yeah.
And
it's within 3 squares too, which is huge. So your disturbing presence guy just needs to be within 3 squares of the guy that's trying to catch the ball or throw the ball or whatever it is.
Yeah, that is a massive space. You only need to throw out a Nurgle team on the Xbox or on Steam or something where they actually give you the aura and it kind of glows around them and the squares kind of highlight that you realize how big that space is.
Yeah.
And like a handoff is still a catch roll. And how many teams try and cage up sort of behind their line of scrimmage? Not today. Not today. So, look, the other fun bit here is it forces your opponent to go wide because you've probably got the center of the pitch locked down pretty hard. So I think that there's probably a piece there for you to think about as a defensive player about how you're going to manage that, knowing that your opponent's going to go wide with the ball. One of those 2 sides is probably saving grace.
But yeah, look, if you've gotten to a point where you've got 4 bloaters and a rot spawn, you got 3 of them in the middle, that's 3 disturbing presences there. 1 of them either side. Solid
Yep.
tactic.
Yeah. With, an extra rotter there just backing him up as a
Mhm.
piece, and then your Pestigore kind of sits in the middle and can bounce either way. He's got the movement 6, so he can react a little bit.
He's
There
also
is
got horns as well, so you can get that strength 4 on a blitz
he's a
if
blitzer.
somebody does break through.
Yeah. No, he's a rock solid piece, and he's actually one of those ones that I kind of want a second one in the lineup. He's not maybe not the primary purchase because you've got one to get your 1-0 score from the start, because I only need one touchdown to win with these guys. But as a second piece, just you can almost have one offensive. You skill him up with all of the ball handling mutations you can, and then what can you do as a defensive piece? Can I get a strip ball?
Yep.
Or something like that with a horn splitzer as a defensive piece. He's a pain in the bum.
Yeah. Glorious. Look, Nurgle, I love them. They are very pretty. They have bits
You
in
say
all the
that.
right places.
I will
And
say I am not a massive fan of the Games Workshop sculpts necessarily. I like the rotters.
I like the rudders. I don't mind the bloaters. I think the bloaters are kind of cute. The pesticles are just weird.
Yeah, even the bloaters, like they definitely are bloated. I
Yep.
will give them that. I want a little bit more funkiness. I do, like there's a lot of smooth skin and a lot of very clean armor that I want to just really dirty up. But look, let's not also pretend that there's other options or not other options, as the case may be.
No, look, my Nurgle team that I took in season 1 is Grebo. I'm pretty sure
Yep.
they're all Grebo models, apart from the beast, which I got from, and I cannot remember for the life of me, but it was another Kickstarter, and it's just a great unclean one, but it's like a mini great unclean one that fits on a appropriate base.
And to be fair, the old '90s Great Unclean one
Yeah,
would fit. That's a pretty solid option. Also, I'm reasonably sure Grebo have like a kitty or a bunny version of a Nurgle team.
it would not
Just
surprise me in the slightest.
FYI, and all your standard offerings, your Willy miniatures, your Gazpairs, all of those are going to have options available. And failing that, like this is one of those teams that you can go hell for leather on converting and hacking and just grossing up. So even if you started with, like, to be honest, if I started with that Games Workshop team, the first thing that is happening is all of the armor is getting taken to with a Dremel to just crud it up. And then it's, how much grossness can you apply to that skin? How can you look because they look pretty clean. They've probably recently had a shower, and I'm just not interested in that.
No. No, this is the sort of team that you stick just a line of typhus corrosion between the butt cheeks and
between that and the rust and all of the things, but the best bit with it is you can't do anything wrong.
no,
Like
it's Nurgle. It's the easiest thing to paint. You slap some browns and greens and whatever, and you're done.
You want to funk them up a little bit. You glue some little bits of green stuff too, or whatnot to create some boils and pus. You just throw some texture on there and it looks right because it's Nurgle. It is the most fun to just do your own thing with because there is legitimately no wrong.
Correct.
You can't fuck it up. It's the best.
Well, that's pretty much it from me on Nurgle.
Yeah, look, they're super fun. They are a control team. They are a defensive and a low-scoring team, but they are a super fun team if you can get them rocking and just the different skills. Like it's a different toolbox to every other team that you'll get, and that's kind of the fun bit with them.
Yeah, totally agree. But
Love it.
thanks for listening. Give us a follow on Facebook, Spotify, Podbean, Twitch. Join our Discord. Join the conversations we're having there. Thank you to our Patreons who give us, the opportunity to do these sort of things and have a bit of fun. But that's it from me.
That is it from me as well.
Laters.
So long.
Thoughtless, casual gaming. Thoughtless, casual